In this episode, I will be speaking on attitude. What role does our attitude play in our leadership walk? There is nothing, absolutely nothing, more powerful in you than your attitude. Self-worth and self-esteem are attributes hidden in attitude. You are your attitude.
This is the Rocky Zapata Leadership Podcast.
Welcome and thank you for joining us in this episode of the Rocky Zapata Leadership Podcast. My greatest desire is for you to learn, and from what you learn, apply these teachings to your leadership walk. Huge thank you to those who share this podcast in your social media. If this podcast is a blessing to your life, please invite your family, invite your friends to join the Rocky Zapata Leadership Podcast. It would mean the world to me if you help us get this podcast out. I love to start my teachings with a funny story, as many of you know. And I heard of these two professional baseball players, and they were discussing on whether or not there would be baseball up in heaven. They both agreed that whoever died first would come back and tell the other if there was, in fact, baseball in heaven. A few months later, one of the players died, and just like promised, he came back and told the other player, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is there is baseball in heaven. The bad news is you're scheduled to pitch next Sunday. So, but let's dive right into our text. And today we'll be speaking on attitude. Attitude is your most powerful strength. Nothing inside of you, absolutely nothing inside of you is more powerful than your attitude. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. Your greatest strength is not your physique. Your greatest strength is not your appearance. Your greatest strength is not your finances, nor is your social status. Your greatest strength is your attitude. If you do not manage your attitude correctly, your attitude will keep you mentally needy because it will depend on the opinion of others for survival. Listen to what I just told you. If you do not manage your attitude correctly, your attitude will keep you mentally needy because it will depend on the opinion of others for survival. We all want to be successful in leadership, and as leaders, we all want to see growth. Successful leadership and a growing leadership are results of your attitude. So you cannot stay mentally needed and depend on the opinion of other people for you to be defined as a leader. But now let's define what attitude means. Attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something. Typically, one that is reflected in a person's behavior, which takes us to our first point, thinking. Attitude is the way you think. Your self-worth and your self-esteem are attributes hidden inside your attitude. It is who you think you are. That is your attitude. Your attitude is who you believe you are about yourself. This reminds me of a conference I was teaching a couple of years ago in Texas. And during the conference, we had a Q&A session. A young lady stood up and asked me a question and said, Rocky, I want to become a better leader in my business. I want to become a better leader in my marriage. I want to become a better leader for my kids. And I want to become a better leader all around. But how does a person like me, who is average, can achieve this? I immediately stopped her when I heard the word average. I responded to this young woman. That is your number one problem. Your number one problem is you. Stop thinking you are average. Stop thinking you cannot achieve certain things. Drop the average attitude mentality over your life. The average attitude mentality will not allow you to take your leadership to the next level. Family and friends, an average mentality mindset will keep your potential. An average mentality mindset will keep your destiny. And an average mentality mindset will keep your leadership a prisoner to your thoughts. You cannot think of yourself as average and still believe you are going to strive as a leader. Walking with an average mentality mindset will only create a roadblock for your leadership, for your life, and for your future. Your leadership growth depends solely on your attitude. Think highly of yourself and throw away the average attitude mentality. Think highly of yourself and throw away the average attitude mentality. Thinking highly of yourself does not cost anything. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay anyone for that. You can just think highly of yourself within you. Solomon, a fabulous, wealthy, and wise king of Israel, said once, "Wise thinking leads to wise living. Wrong thinking leads to wrong living." Unfortunately, many of you do not reach your goals and do not develop your full potential because you do not think highly of yourself. You need to think the way you like yourself to live out your leadership. You need to think of yourself the way you want other people to see you. You need to think of yourself the way you want to be imaged to other people. That is how you must be thinking of yourself. Many of you are trapped in your leadership walk because you have allowed someone else to put a value in your worth. Listen to what I said. Many of you are trapped in your leadership walk because you have allowed someone else to put a value in your worth. It is a huge problem when someone else controls your attitude other than yourself. And then you ask yourself, why do I possess low self-esteem? I was speaking to a young gentleman the other day, and he was telling me, "Rocky, I possess low self-esteem. I have low self-esteem, and I need to control this low self-esteem and get out of it." And I asked him one simple question: who controls your attitude? Do you control your attitude, or does someone else controls your attitude? Because many times we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that controls our attitude. We have a husband or a wife that controls our attitude. We have a boss, a parent, a friend, someone in our life that talks down to us, and that person that talks down to us controls our attitude. If someone in your life has verbally abused you and you have believed them, and they have told you you are no good and you are not worth a penny and you will never reach anything in life and you are no good for society, if you have believed them, you have allowed them to control your attitude. This happens a lot, and we see this tons in marriages where one spouse verbally abuses the other spouse, and the spouse that's actually getting verbally abused believes the other spouse about who they believe they think they are. Do not allow anyone, family and friends, do not allow anyone to put a price tag on your self-worth. The right only belongs to you. That right only belongs to you, no one else. Only you can put a value, to your self-esteem. Only you can put a value to your life. Only you will determine your worth, and only you can value yourself. No one else has the authority, and no one else has the right to value you in any other way than the way you view yourself. So stop hearing other people, stop listening to what people say, and start valuing yourself the way you want to be valued in the eyes of others. Which leads us to our second point: a leader must have an attitude of accountability. As a leader, you must have the right attitude in place for your leadership, and the right attitude equals to taking accountability for your actions. After viewing yourself and thinking highly of yourself, You cannot blame others for your actions. In fact, true leaders will never take fault all by themselves. I meet a lot of people. I met tons of people who all they do is point the fingers and blame others for their mistakes. You see this a lot in marriages. I was counseling a marriage about a month ago, and I was in the middle, and all I saw back and forth was finger pointing. Well, I did this because he did this. The husband would say, I did X thing because my spouse did X thing. And the wife would say, well, I acted in this way because he acted in this way. But throughout the whole talk and the counseling, never at once did any of them take any responsibility or any accountability for their actions. Their actions were just blaming others for what they've done. Leaders are never above the law, and true leaders understand they are the example to model. So stop blaming other people for your mistakes. Stop blaming other people for what you've done. A successful leader will embrace the attitude of accountability. Stop blaming others for what you've caused. Stop trying to find fault in people for what you yourself have caused. I will give you this factual statement. We all have to pay for our actions. Whether good or bad, we must pay that debt. Our actions are never free. Someone must pick up the tab on our actions, and that is us. We must pick up our own tab. Remember, we are rewarded for our actions. The way you treat people, you will be rewarded. The way you act with people, you will be rewarded. And the way you take accountability for your actions, that's the way you will also be rewarded. And number 3, a leader must have an attitude of humility. Humility plays a huge role in our attitude. As a leader, please know and please understand this. You do not have all the answers, okay? And it is okay not to have all the answers. No one does. Be humble enough to admit this true fact. No one has all the answers. Real leaders have leaders. I myself have 3 mentors, 3 people I personally look up to. Every month, I take them individually to dinner or lunch, and I learn from them. These 3 mentors of mine are better than me in so many aspects. And I'm humble enough to admit and understand they are better than me in a lot of aspects. They are better than me financially. They are better than me in a leadership role. They are wiser than me. They are faster than me, more experienced than me. They possess qualities I want to instill in myself. So be humble enough to look up to people who can take you places you've never been before. People who can help you achieve something you have inside of you that needs to come out. Your circle plays a huge determination on who you and your leadership will become. Your influence, that is a circle, is a determination that will play depending on who your surroundings are. Remember, you become your surroundings. If you surround yourself with visionaries, you will become a visionary. If you surround yourself with leaders, you will also become a leader. Find better people, better friends, better connections. Find people who possess an appetite for growth, people who will teach you to be better. If you associate yourself with whiners, you're going to become a whiner. If you associate yourself with complainers, you're going to complain all day. If you associate yourself with broke people, eventually you will be broke. Find the better people. Find people who possess that appetite for growth and create that circle, a better influence for your life. True leaders desire to get better each and every day. Every sunrise represents a new opportunity for growth. The leader does not need to have all the answers, but the leader does need to be willing to get better. Remember, the leader does not need to have all the answers, but the leader does need to be willing to get better. A successful leader embraces the attitude of humility. As we close this episode, remember, family and friends, your attitude will create your environment. Your attitude will create your environment. Have an attitude of humility. have an attitude of accountability, and have an attitude of thinking highly of yourself. A leader you carry inside of you will develop that. Remember, the leader you have inside of you will feed off of your attitude. Become the best leadership version of yourself.
Thank you for joining us at the Rocky Zapata Leadership Podcast.